All right, hey Maggie, just a quick review for you, or video for you. So, um, oh, it looks like you already found your answer to the question for what P and XE stand for. It is in the metadata. That's why we have it. The order of operations, or the first term. Here, let's bring this over. The first term that you're seeing right here is it's just an erroneous term that they use for at the beginning of a regression equations. It doesn't mean anything in particular, but it does change a lot of how the equation works. So it is pretty necessary for that to be in there, but they just put it in there as a beginning integer. Secondly, I wanted to talk to you about naming conventions for your BRAT outputs. I'm going to pause it here for a sec. All right, so talking about excuse me, how to name some of your outputs for BRAT. I just have noticed that you're naming them the best that your recollection does, but we've put a lot of effort into specific naming conventions for the lab so that we know what things are. So just as a reference, I'm going to send you this link to naming conventions. This is just an example. So one of our tools, or our past tools, excuse me, I might be coughing a lot during this. I've just been coughing today, but one of our past tools, it's riparian vegetation departure. And you'll notice that we have some particular naming conventions for this, like specifically for the project folder, it's et al. Watershed ID _ RVD. And you can see that this correlates to the naming convention for what we're doing for BRAT. It's also been done. I'll show you how Mike names his things, if it will load up. So he names his by watershed and Huck ID. So there's a couple different ways. I would suggest going with something that has the Huck ID in it, and something like this maybe. Okay. So there's that. I'm going to send you this link to kind of say, all right, what are you going to name your particular outputs? In general, what I do to name the outputs is I will take this, for example, this run. Okay, so I have my project folder name, which corresponds to the documentation that I'll send you. Then for the outputs, as I'm going through the outputs, I find it very useful to go through, and we'll do this for intermediates because you're not to the analysis part yet. But you'll have this BRAT table, and for each of the tools, as you go through it, a really helpful way to do this is, and I know I'm kind of micromanaging here, but this is how we can keep track of everything that's going on. So just with your future projects, name things like this. So I'll generally go through each of the tools, do the Huck ID, and then BRAT table after that, or the Huck ID and BRAT vegetation dam capacity model after that. So you can see here, right here, I've got the BRAT table, okay, and then I have the Huck ID BRAT combined dam capacity model, okay. Just spell it out for us so that we don't have to guess what it is for, or you don't have to guess that for which Huck it is and what the output is. In addition, as you go through, and I notice that you have your spatial join, okay, you'll eventually want to replace that with whatever naming convention you had for your original brat run, okay? So that the metadata will line up, because people will look in the metadata for that particular file that you've created and that specific name for it, and it needs to be exact. So you'll want just like one output eventually for this. Just clean it up, make it look nice, and have a uniform naming convention in here. And I mean, you can see that I I like this way the best for for naming the outputs. Sorry, the et al is just kind of something that I do for the particular watershed, but it is helpful, like Mike had done, to do the watershed name underscore Huck ID. Okay, at the very least do that. Have the Huck ID and the watershed name in there. Okay, so there you go. And the other task that I want you to do, sorry, I hope I'm not blowing out your ears or anything with this, with my cough, but dam censusing. I know it's super tedious, but it's something that needs to be done for our watersheds. I particularly would like you to look at the dams that I'm sending you, the dam file that I'm sending you, which is here. Okay, so you can see that it's got some various dams in there. I want you to look at, so there's some good practice in here for some examples for you. So Anna, Morgan, and Hayes, I think is their names, Hayes, and Susan, all went and physically surveyed the dams. So these ones right here are ground truth. They're good to go. These are examples that you can see what dams really look like. Okay. Second of what I want you to do is I want you to look through these ones that Thomas Hafen created, and I know there's some of them, and I've kind of listed some of them here that are unsure, but I want you to look at them and just quality check it and just be like, hey, yeah, I don't think this one right here, this FID number 11 is one. I don't think this one is one. I don't think that one is one. Delete them and see if you can find any more in this watershed for the North Fork of the Burnt, and get back to me. That's what we're going to be running your model on. So if you can check those, that'd be great.